All right, today we're going to pull back the curtain on the invisible architecture that keeps our digital world running. We're going to dive into a common puzzle that plays out in offices every single day and figure out how our data stays both connected and, more importantly, secure. I mean, have you ever really thought about this? You've got the sales team, HR, and engineering all in the same building, all plugged into the same physical network. So, what's stopping a salesperson from accidentally stumbling onto, say, sensitive HR payroll files? It's a massive digital puzzle. To get our heads around this, I want you to picture the company's entire network as one of those slick, modern office buildings. It's one physical structure, sure, but inside it's divided up into all these distinct, super secure areas. Now, the magic trick that makes this all possible is something called a VLAN, which stands for Virtual Local Area Network. Just think of a VLAN as a virtual floor in our digital office building. So we can put the entire sales team on floor 10, stick HR on floor 20, and put engineering up on floor 30. And even though they're all on the same physical network, they are now completely separate from each other. So why even bother with these virtual floors? Well, first and foremost, security. People on the sales floor can't just take a stroll over to the HR floor. It keeps things locked down. Second, it's about organization. You can group all your engineers together digitally, even if one's working from another country. And finally, it's just way more efficient. It stops all the unnecessary chatter and data from flooding the entire network, kind of like preventing junk mail from being delivered to every single floor. It keeps the hallways clear, and everything moves a whole lot faster. Okay, that all makes sense. But what happens when someone in sales actually needs to ask HR a question? I mean, these departments can't be completely isolated forever. So how do you build a secure bridge for them to communicate between these virtual floors? This is where something called trunking comes in. A trunk is basically our network's high-speed elevator. It's a special connection that's authorized to travel between all the different virtual floors, securely carrying messages from one to the other. It's the express lift in our digital building. Now, just because you can get in the elevator, it doesn't mean you can go wherever you want. Nope. Every single message has to pass through the main reception desk. And in our network, this is a device called a router. The router acts like a security guard, looking at each message, checking its destination, and deciding if it's actually allowed to go to that floor. This whole process is called inter-VLAN routing. So let's trace a message's journey step by step. A computer on the sales floor sends a file. That file hops into the trunk elevator. The elevator zips it up to the central router, our digital receptionist, who checks its credentials. Once the router says, yep, this is approved for HR, it sends the message directly to the HR floor. That's how information flows in a controlled, secure way. So that all sounds great when it works, but we all know what happens when things break, right? Suddenly, messages just aren't getting through. They vanish. This is where we have to put on our detective hats and start investigating what's gone wrong. Okay, here's our first case. You've got two people in the finance department. They're on the same team, on the same virtual floor, but for some reason, they can't send files to each other. What on earth could be wrong? A lot of the time, the culprit is a surprisingly simple address mix-up. Think of it like this. Every office on the 10th floor should have a room number that starts with 10, like 1001, 1002, 1003. But if one computer is accidentally assigned an address like 25, then to all its neighbors, it's not just in the wrong room, it's on a completely different floor. It basically becomes invisible, hidden behind a digital wall. All right, detective, let's crack open the next case file. The entire sales floor is now cut off from the HR floor. They can all talk to each other just fine, but any message they send to another department just disappears into thin air. So what's going on now? Well, here we have a few prime suspects. The problem could be the elevator itself. Maybe that trunk link is just down. Or maybe the receptionist is the problem. The router's rules might be all messed up. It could also be that the elevator doors just won't open. Imagine the elevator uses a special keycard, but the lock on the HR floor was changed. The door won't open. In the network world, this mismatched lock is what we call an encapsulation mismatch. So to solve these mysteries, network detectives don't use a magnifying glass. They have a specific set of digital tools, commands they can type in, to check on the health of our digital building. These commands might look a little technical, but trust me, they're just asking really simple questions. The command show interface trunk is just asking, hey, is the elevator working and which floors is it allowed to stop at? Then show VTP status checks to see who the building manager is that's in charge of the whole floor plan. And show interface switch port lets you zoom right in on a single office door and check if it's even assigned to the right floor. So how do we actually put these tools to use? Well, solving these problems isn't about guesswork at all. It's about a logical, step-by-step process that lets you eliminate suspects and zero in on the root cause. Here's the method the pros follow. First, you check the physical stuff. Are the cables plugged in? Are the lights on? Simple as that. Next, you investigate the building's architecture, what's known as Layer 2. You check if the floors and elevators are set up right. Finally, if all that looks good, you go check on the receptionist, or Layer 3. Is the router actually directing traffic to the right places? And really, that's the secret. Network troubleshooting might seem like some kind of dark art, but it's not magic. It's a science. It's all about having a clear mental model, like our digital office building, and then just using a logical process to find exactly where things went sideways. You know, it really makes you wonder, doesn't it? Every single time you send an email or stream a video, you're relying on thousands of these invisible rules and virtual structures working perfectly in the background. What other hidden systems are out there, quietly making our connected world possible? That's something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.